She wasn't afraid of dying. She was afraid the universe would forget she ever lived. Bound, trembling, and minutes from being claimed by a monster, Elira thought everything was over, until one human broke every law in the galaxy just to reach her. The restraints weren't meant to hurt her, yet Elira could feel every heartbeat pressing against the cold metal bands locked around her wrists. The chamber was too bright, its sterile white walls reflecting her trembling breath back at her, making her feel smaller, weaker, almost erased. She tried not to cry, but tears still slipped down her cheeks, tracing the same path they had taken every night since she was sold into this nightmare. A bridal carrier, the Draxians called it. Prison, she corrected silently. She sat on a raised platform, forced into a gown designed to shimmer like starlight. The irony stung. They wanted her to look like a celestial offering, but she felt like a broken ornament discarded in the corner of a forgotten empire. A sharp click echoed as the matron entered. Tall, metallic-skinned, and eternally unimpressed, she circled Elira with the expression of someone inspecting livestock. "Straighten your back," the matron snapped. A future consort must not look defeated. Elira lifted her chin, though her voice cracked. "I'm not defeated, just tired of pretending." The matron paused for a moment, surprised by the spark in Elira's tone. "Defiance won't save you," she said coldly. "The king prefers obedience. He arrives within 2 cycles." That sentence always carved a pit of dread in Elira's stomach. King Malor, ruthless, brilliant, feared beyond the Andromeda reach. Stories whispered that brides chosen by him vanished within weeks. None were seen again. None were returned. When the matron left, the room dimmed to its night cycle. Silence settled, thick and heavy. Elira leaned her head back against the cold wall, trying to picture her home. The gardens, the warm nights, the laughter she once thought would fill her entire life. Instead, a memory slipped through. A boy running beside her, dusty boots kicking up dirt, laughing because she beat him in a race. Jace, the only human she ever trusted. He had been exiled the day her father caught them climbing the outer city towers. She never saw him again. Sometimes she doubted he had ever been real. A faint static interrupted her thoughts. Her gaze snapped to a corner panel flickering weakly. It was an old maintenance comm, one she wasn't supposed to access. The static sharpened, forming a voice so familiar it punched the breath from her lungs. "Elira, stay awake at 3rd bell. Don't scream when I open the door." Her heart stopped. That voice, that name. "Jace?" she whispered, barely believing her own breath. And somewhere inside the ship, someone answered. The 3rd bell never arrived quietly. The ship's internal lights dimmed to a violet glow, a color Draxians used to signal rest hours. The corridor outside Elira's chamber fell silent. No guards, no matron, not even the usual hum of surveillance drones drifting past. Felt wrong. Too still. Too intentional. Elira's pulse raced as she sat on the edge of the platform, staring at the door. She wasn't sure whether to hope or brace for another cruel twist. Then came the sound, soft, precise, unmistakably human. A sequence of metallic taps followed, like someone overriding the locks manually. The door slid open only a fraction, letting a sliver of darkness enter the room. A figure slipped inside, wearing a matte black infiltration suit with a helmet that masked everything. Face, eyes, even the breath. He moved like someone who had memorized every shadow in the room. No hesitation, no wasted motion. Elira backed up instinctively, her bound wrists lifting defensively. The figure raised both hands in a don't panic gesture, then reached up and unlocked the helmet. The hiss of released pressure filled the room. When the helmet lifted, her world stopped. Jace Reed stood there, older, sharper, broader in the shoulders, but unmistakably the boy she lost years ago. The same warm undertone in his gaze, the same stubborn defiance on his face. Only now, the history between them hung heavier than the air. For a heartbeat, neither of them spoke. He broke the silence first, voice low and strained. "You're really here," he whispered, stepping closer. I wasn't sure I'd reach you in time. Elira wanted to speak, but her throat tightened. You shouldn't be here, she managed. Terrans aren't allowed anywhere near the king's carriers. Yeah, Jace muttered, a humorless half-smile tugging at his mouth. I noticed. The 4 squads I had to sneak past noticed, too. Despite her terror, a faint laugh escaped her, soft, shaky, but real. He always had that effect, even now. He moved behind her and gently inspected the restraints. His fingers brushed her skin, warm and steady like an anchor. Hold still. The Draxian lock system is ridiculous. Who designs cuffs that shock you every time you flinch? Psychopaths. Jace, Elira whispered. Why did you come? He didn't look up. Because they took you, and because I couldn't let them decide the rest of your life. The restraints clicked open. She turned to face him fully, breath trembling. Jace, the king comes tomorrow. He met her eyes, expression hardening into something fierce and unshakable. Then we're leaving tonight. Jace pulled Elira into the hallway, keeping himself between her and every possible threat. The corridor lights flickered in uneven pulses, casting long, nervous shadows along the metallic walls. Elira had walked this path many times under guard, but without escorts the air felt heavier, like the ship itself was holding its breath. Where are we going? She whispered. Somewhere safe, Jace replied, checking corners with the reflexes of a man who had spent too long running from things that could kill him. Or safer, at least. Draxians aren't big on comfort. He tried to keep his tone light, but she caught the strain beneath it. He wasn't here on a mission. He wasn't here because of an order. He was here because of her, and that truth pressed against her chest in ways she didn't yet know how to name. They slipped down a maintenance ladder into a dimly lit crawlspace. Wires hummed overhead, and the floor vibrated faintly under their feet. Elira sat beside him on a grated platform while he worked on reconnecting a scrambled transmitter. Terran tech, he muttered, frustrated. Doesn't like alien ships. Rude. Jace, she said softly. How did you even find me? He didn't look up. Your father's diplomats leaked just enough intel for me to trace you. After that, I made some choices that'll probably get me court-martialed. He paused, then added more quietly, worth it though. The words tightened her throat. She opened her mouth to respond, but a scraping noise echoed through the shaft. Jace froze. So did she. A pale green hand gripped the edge of the platform. Elira recoiled, until a slender alien woman pulled herself into view. Her skin glowed faintly in the darkness, and her amber eyes flicked between them, sharp and assessing. Don't run, the woman whispered, raising her hands. If I meant you harm, I wouldn't have climbed through a vent. Jace stepped forward protectively. Identify yourself. My name is Rhea, she said. I'm one of the chosen brides. Or, I was. Her voice cracked on the last word. Elira's heart clenched as she saw the desperation behind Rhea's steady posture. Rhea leaned closer, lowering her voice. You're planning to escape, aren't you? I need to join you. My sister was taken by the king last cycle. I know where they keep the others. Elira's breath hitched. The others? You mean the missing brides? Rhea nodded grimly. They're still alive, but you won't like what they've become. Jace shot Elira a look, fear mixed with determination. Rhea exhaled shakily. Follow me. I'll show you the truth the king hides from everyone. Rhea led them through a maze of forgotten service tunnels. Narrow pathways that smelled of coolant and rust, places only rats or desperate people would dare to walk. Jace stayed close behind Elira, whispering directions and warnings whenever a pipe rattled or a vent trembled under unseen footsteps. The deeper they traveled, the colder the air became, as if they were descending into the heart of something that disliked the warmth of living beings. At last, Rhea stopped at a circular hatch covered in ancient symbols. This is it, she murmured. No guards, no cameras. The king doesn't need them here. That alone made Elira's stomach tighten. Rhea pressed a sequence on the control panel. The hatch hissed open, releasing a pulse of frigid air that crawled across Elira's skin like icy fingers. Jace instinctively reached for her hand. She let him. Inside, the chamber was vast, larger than any room Elira had ever seen on the ship, and eerily silent. Rows of tall, translucent pods lined both sides, each containing a woman suspended in a soft blue glow. Their eyes were closed, but their fingers twitched faintly, as if trapped in dreams they couldn't wake from. Elira took a step forward. "These are the brides, all of them." Rhea nodded, her jaw clenched. "But they aren't sleeping. Their minds are connected to the king's neural network. They calculate battle strategies, decode star maps, predict rebellions. They live, but only for him." A chill rooted in Elira's spine. "This is slavery of the mind." "No," Rhea whispered. "This is annihilation." Jace slowly circled one of the pods, his expression darkening. Terran intelligence suspected he was using forced labor. But this is on another level. Elira's gaze locked on a pod with pale green skin, Rhea's sister. Her face was peaceful, but her eyes fluttered as though fighting something unseen. Rhea pressed her palm to the glass. "She fought the system until her mind broke. But her last message to me was clear. The king wants a replacement. Someone who can withstand the full Nexus load." Elira felt her breath catch. "Me?" Rhea nodded. "Your neural signature makes you the perfect core. Once he integrates you, you won't come back." Jace turned sharply. "We're leaving. Right now." But Rhea grabbed his arm. "If you run, he'll hunt you across systems. You need to destroy the Nexus and free them." Elira's pulse thundered as she stepped back, caught between terror and rising fury. For the first time since her capture, she didn't just want to survive. She wanted to fight. The chamber's lights dimmed without warning, plunging everything into a deep, ocean blue glow. The pods flickered, their pulses sinking into a slow, rhythmic hum, like distant thunder rolling through the ship's metal bones. Elira felt the vibrations in her chest, heavy and unsettling, like the breath of something ancient waking up. Jace stepped in front of her, posture rigid, weapon raised. "We can't stay here. This place is a death sentence." Rhea didn't move. Her eyes stayed locked on her sister's pod, voice trembling. "If we walk away, the king will plug Elira into the Nexus and rebuild his empire on her mind. And my sister, she'll stay trapped forever." She looked at Elira then, pain sharp and honest. "I'm begging you, help me free them." Elira swallowed hard. She had never asked to be a symbol, never wanted to carry anyone's fate on her shoulders. But looking at the silent, glowing rows of women, daughters, sisters, strangers who once dreamed like she did, something in her shifted. "Jace," she whispered, stepping closer. "If we destroy the Nexus, they wake up. They get their lives back. And if we fail?" he asked, jaw tightening. "He'll use your mind to run his war machine." "Then we don't fail," Elira said softly. He studied her for a long, difficult moment. Then his shoulders dropped a fraction, and he exhaled. "You always had terrible timing," he muttered, "and the world's best heart." He squeezed her hand once, firm, grounding, before turning to Rhea. "Show us the core." Rhea nodded and led them deeper into the chamber, weaving through towering columns of cables and outdated tech spliced with Draxian biocircuits. At the center stood the Nexus, a massive, pulsating construct with threads of energy stretching like veins into every pod in the room. Jace scanned it with a handheld device. "If I overload these conduits, it'll short-circuit the entire network." "But we have to time it perfectly," Rhea warned. "If the system senses tampering, it'll lock down and trigger a failsafe." Elira stepped forward, placing her hand on the cold surface of the Nexus. For a moment, she felt nothing. Then, a whisper, not spoken, not heard, felt. Hundreds of voices brushing against her mind like faint echoes. "Help us. Free us. Please." Elira staggered back, breath shaking. "They're aware. They're waiting." Jace tightened his grip on the device. "Then let's end this." Before any of them could move, an alarm shrieked through the chamber, red lights flaring to life. A distorted voice boomed through the intercom. Deep, cold, unmistakable. My bride-to-be wants to play hero? King Malor. He had found them, and the real fight was about to begin. Elira stood frozen as the king's voice echoed through the chamber, her pulse thundering against the rising alarms. Jace pulled her behind him. Rhea clutched her sister's pod, and the nexus glowed like a beast about to awaken. The escape was over. The hiding was done. Now, their choices would decide the fate of every captive bride and the entire galaxy.